Welcome, Bronco Nation, to a review of a disappointing weekend for Boise State football. A lot of us woke up excited for the San Jose State game, of course, and found out soon afterwards, depending when you woke up, found out soon afterwards that the game had been canceled due to COVID concerns, positive cases, and contact tracing. So this video is going to review just discussing a little bit that circumstance, that situation. We're also going to talk about how the top 25 went for Boise State. Heads up, it didn't go that great. And then finally concluding with a look at what the loss of Nevada to Hawaii means. So this shouldn't be too long of a video, but there are a couple things that I want to cover here. And this will be a little bit different than my normal review videos because I'm not reviewing a Boise State game. I'm reviewing the aftermath that followed the cancellation. So the first thing is obviously Boise State game got canceled. And one of the things that I posted on the Bronco Nation Updates page was that fans deserve to know what it took to cancel the game. We deserve to know how many players, not specific names, but how many players total were taken out. I have heard some people posting on the page that it was like 4 positive and 5 contact traced. I haven't been able to find the official release information for that, so I'm not going to verify that because I don't know if it's 100% true. But regardless of what the final answer is, I want to address the post that I made that got quite a severe reaction from a lot of fans. So that Boise State fans deserve to know what the total number of players that were taken out that caused Boise State to cancel, because it was Boise State who initiated this cancellation. The Mountain West canceled it because they have the authority to do that, but as Boise State's own press release said, they were the ones who requested the cancellation on this game. So it was Boise State that canceled it. So what it took to cancel the game, and that Brian Harsin has, I'm not going to say a tendency because it's a habit pattern. It's a way of being more than that. That he when he's talking about injuries and illnesses, he doesn't reveal specifics. Not even necessarily numbers. He doesn't confirm that certain numbers of players, whatever, or specific players are on specific health watch lists unless they're taken out for the season. And I'm fine with that overall. That's his coaching style. That's his strategic style. Or doesn't want to give the opposing team advantage as far as knowing who's going to be playing. That's fine. But when it comes to something like this, fans deserve know a little bit more in-depth information, specific numbers for total and position groups. Again, doesn't have to be specific names. But that's what I was saying in that post going forward. Boise State fans in this case, because there's two reasons Boise State fans need to know that, is that first, they need to know how big of an impact is this going forward. Do we need to start getting our minds prepared for potential cancellation against UNLV next week? And maybe even against Wyoming the week after that? What are we looking at going forward? Is it a large enough percentage of the team that in, it's 10 days from COVID-free, from symptom-free to be able to play? So are we looking at potentially Boise State not playing next weekend? Fans need to know that. And the second thing is that fans need to know what it will take to cancel a game in the future. Now, Boise State's played with 12 or 14 players out before this season. But for whatever reason, this time, it was considered too much. And we need to know what that's going to take. What is it going to look like? How reliable is it that Boise State's going to be able to play on any given weekend going forward the rest of the season? The 2 regular season games, conference championship potentially, and the bowl game. What is it going to take to cancel those? How stable are those games? And the only way for Boise State fans to know that is to know what it took to cancel this game, which is a huge matchup. Now, a lot of people disagreed. They said fans don't deserve to know, that it's up to the players and coaches, and that fans just on the sideline watching, not even on the sideline, in the stands watching, we don't deserve to know anything. I 100% disagree with that statement. Fans are, for college football, fans are as much a part of the team as coaches and players are when it comes to the team's existence. Okay, obviously players and coaches are the most important element of a team, and they're what makes up the team. But when it comes to that team existing at all, it is the fans that cause the team to come into existence. Because college football is unlike any other collegiate sport. College football is extremely expensive. It takes a lot of staff. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of equipment to put together. It's not something like gymnastics or swimming or even baseball or wrestling or something like that that can be a part of a university's athletic program without bringing in any money. Those programs can exist as long as the football program is bringing in money, not just to support itself, but to support all the athletic programs. Articles during the COVID release estimated that at least 50% of most athletic departments' revenue is brought in from football. That's from tickets in the stands and primarily TV contracts. Boise State always has a massive TV contract, and that's where the predominant money for the school comes from, for its athletic programs, not just for football, but for the majority of its athletic programs. When COVID became a factor and they had to cancel sports, cancel basketball and football, so this also applies for basketball as well, when both those sports had to be terminated and it was looking like football might not be a thing, Boise State had to cut baseball. So, which was, I know, a lot of fans, including myself, were very upset by the decision, but the fact remained that the cancellation of basketball and football was enough to preempt, because of money concerns, to preempt that because of revenue not coming in. So, Boise State athletic program as a whole is able to succeed and to exist because of the fans. And even if it was able to just eke out an existence, Boise State is only able to attract high-level prospects by being able to pay good coaches good money, like Brian Harsin, to keep him around and his assistants, and to be able to pay for excellent athletic training facilities, which all come from the money the team generates. And without fans, those systems, those programs, those elements of the team and of the athletic program as a whole are unable to exist. So, but fans find it difficult to have 100% investment in a team that is not honest and open with them, and when there's a high degree of uncertainty, not knowing what's going to be happening week to week. And that's why it's extreme. That's why fans deserve to know, and that's why fans need to know what's happening to a certain extent within the inner workings of the football program. I didn't mean inner workings. I meant as far as when it comes to COVID, as far as what players are going to be going out, total players are going to be going out, and what it would take to cancel games, how stable the program is going forward. Fans deserve to know that because they, when it comes to the existence of the team and the success of a team, are as much a part of that team as the players or the coaches in that. So then just addressing one more thing, a lot of people said that it'd be better for Boise State to not play than play and lose. And I think that is 100% false. It is always better, I think, it is always better to go out and put your best performance that you are able to generate on the field, to give your best effort that you're able to, and let the field determine it. Not to go in thinking, oh, well, it looks like we're not going to have our key players, so we're going to, it's basically like a forfeit that doesn't count as a forfeit. We're just not going to play today because we don't think that we're going to be able to win. I'm not saying that's what Boise State did. I'm addressing what other people said in regards to it's better to not play than play and lose. When Boise State had its bowl game canceled 2 years back, that was devastating. That was more devastating than a loss to have that game canceled, and that's what it feels like today. Boise State is all about the blue-collar work ethic. They're all about going out there, no matter what kind of underdog you are, no matter what the odds, going out, developing a scheme, developing a plan, and going out there and doing the best you can to beat the other team. They're not about looking at the factors, even if all players in a certain position group, a key position group, like say quarterbacks, maybe not all quarterbacks are able to play, going out there and doing wildcat or some kind of wide receiver throws. We got a couple wide receivers that can throw. We got a tight end who is a former quarterback that can throw. Going out there and giving the best performance that they're able to muster to put on the field that day. Unless it is such a percentage that Boise State can't field a team at all, that's something else. But saying, it was unlikely that Boise State was going to win, so it's better not to play, that's 100% false. That's like saying, okay, it's better not to schedule difficult teams. Better to not schedule and have a completely win full record than it is to go play a hard team and lose. And I mean then you're just turning into BYU there. So Boise State, I don't think that's necessarily what they did. I'm not saying that's what they did anyway. I'm not saying that's what they did. I'm addressing fans' comments about it's better to not play than play and lose. I think that I speak for a lot of fans when I say that we want to see Boise State out there competing to the best of their ability every week, regardless of what kind of underdog they are and what kind of circumstances cause them to be underdogs. So moving on to the second point here, is they're addressing what happened in the top 25. So only 3 of the teams between ranking 17 and 25 lost. They all lost to ranked teams, and there is a pretty good potential that no teams will drop out of the top 25. Iowa had a very poor performance today against a very bad Nebraska team, so they might drop out potentially because they were ranked in there when they didn't really deserve to be, being 3-2 with 2 very bad losses. One of those to a Michigan State team that again almost beat Northwestern, but is now 1-4. So Iowa might drop out, but as far as losing, Auburn was the only team that was defeated convincingly enough to maybe drop out of the top 25, but they were beaten by number 1 Alabama. And the committee has shown in the past they're not like the AP poll where they're just going to drop a team because it lost. They're going to evaluate that loss overall, to what extent the quality of the team that they were facing. And with a team in the top 4, they may end up staying, even though Auburn was right at the cusp there at 24. Auburn may end up staying in this rankings, but who knows? Either way, Boise State not playing, probably not going to jump into the rankings this week, but the chances are much slimmer now that the only 3 of those teams in that top ranking there lost. Makes it a lot more difficult as far as that goes. So that didn't go in Boise State. The biggest point is it didn't go in Boise State's favor. It's really just a very negative weekend. The Coastal Carolina won. That's bad for Boise State as well. They were not expected to lose. Their best chance of losing is next week versus Liberty, but they won, so that's not great either. And then Tulsa and Cincinnati had games postponed or canceled, which eliminated big opportunities for Boise State to see those teams get potential losses that would really impact Boise State's chances of going to the New Year's Six. Tulsa playing Houston had a really good chance of losing. That would have been great for Boise State. It would probably have eliminated Tulsa as a competitor for the New Year's Six, only leaving Marshall, Coastal Carolina, and Cincinnati as serious competitors ahead of Boise State. But Tulsa's game got canceled. They do play Navy next week, so that might be a potential loss there if Navy can get its game together. They have shown the ability to play well in spurts, so that could be a potential loss. But the biggest opportunity was against Houston, and that opportunity has now gone by the wayside. Cincinnati was going to play Temple. They were probably going to crush Temple, but Temple has shown the ability to surprise in the past, so that would have been a huge upset, would have knocked Cincinnati back significantly, and may have opened up the door for Boise State to jump into the conversation with New Year's Six, assuming the other teams that they need to lose, Coastal Carolina and Marshall, lost ahead of them. Now, pretty much the only way that Boise State can get into the New Year's Six is, assuming Tulsa wins next weekend, and maybe even if they lost, is if Cincinnati gets into the playoffs. That is going to be, every other chance is I'm not much of a statistician, but if I had to say off the top of my head, 5% or less, probably much less. The best opportunity is for Cincinnati to get into the playoffs, Coastal Carolina and Marshall to lose, Cincinnati to beat Tulsa twice en route to the playoffs, which is what they would do. They play them at the end of the season, and then they play them in the conference championship game. Cincinnati to beat Tulsa twice en route to the playoffs, and then the group of 6 slot to still be available with the losses for Coastal and Marshall. Boise State considered a high enough opportunity versus those other 2 teams, even with the losses, or even a Tulsa team to jump ahead into that New Year's Six slot. That is probably the best opportunity, because without Tulsa losing this week, if they say they beat Cincinnati, say Cincinnati beats them, knocks them out of the rankings, and then Tulsa beats Cincinnati, well, in that case, Tulsa would probably get the nod for the New Year's Six slot. So it really now becomes, can Cincinnati make it into the playoffs, and that's going to be the best option, which is not the avenue that we wanted it to go, because that's a much lesser chance, I think, than other options there. So, but the biggest crusher to Boise State's New Year's Six chances, and a big just kick in the gut to end the day, was Nevada losing to Hawaii. Now, first off, I am going to say, yes, this does leave Boise State and San Jose State as the only 2 undefeated teams in the Mountain West, basically guaranteeing Boise State a slot in the Mountain West championship game if it can win out games against UNLV and Wyoming. So if Boise State can win out, basically guarantees Boise State a slot in the Mountain West Championship game. However, San Jose State was still going to have to play Nevada, and unless that game got canceled, one of those teams would have lost, so Boise State would still probably have gotten in anyway. And San Jose State might end up losing next week to Hawaii, which would also have given Boise State in. So Boise State still had a pretty good shot, still pretty much controlled its destiny as long as the San Jose State Nevada game didn't get canceled, still controlled its destiny to the Mountain West. And I always think that it's best to shoot for the moon until that moon it goes out of reach. And Boise State still had / kind of has a chance at the New Year's Six. And Boise State, it would have been better for Boise to be playing an undefeated Nevada team in the New Year's Six. In the Mountain West Championship game against a Nevada team that at that point would be 8-0 or 7-0. I think they've had a game canceled. 7-0 or 8-0 would be 8-0. Probably ranked in the CFP. I think that Nevada, if they'd beaten Hawaii, would have jumped into the college football playoff rankings this week at 6-0. I think they got snubbed last week, and I think if at least one team fell out, maybe Iowa or Auburn, I think Nevada would have jumped into the rankings in their place. But now Boise State is going to likely play a undefeated Spartan team, and I don't think the Spartans are going to be ranked just based on how the number of games that they have played overall and the way that they have played those games. I think it's much lesser chance that San Jose State gets ranked going into that game. And it would have been better for Boise State to have a win against the Spartans and Nevada to really prompt out their resume now. Now when the committee is looking at a team to potentially replace Cincinnati, if Cincinnati does get that New Year's Six slot, Boise State's going to have a much weaker resume overall than they would have otherwise. So while Boise State in 2014, when Boise State lost to Ole Miss and Air Force, pretty much everybody said, season's over, Boise State might not even win the Mountain West. We're not going to New Year's Six. And I kept faith all the way down. Of course, I wasn't making videos then. I was a junior in high school, so I don't have the video proof. But I said all along that Boise State still had a good chance, or a chance at least, to go to the New Year's Six, and guess what? They did. So I'm going to stay saying that Boise State has a chance to go to the New Year's Six until if they lose one more game, of course they're out. But I'm going to say Boise State has a chance to go to the New Year's Six, assuming they stay undefeated, until the committee makes that decision on December 20th. And then after that, the decision's already made. But until that happens, I'm going to hold out hope, as slim as that might be, that Boise State can get into a New Year's Six slot. And so when things happen where Hawaii beats Nevada, I'm going to be upset. Yes, it guarantees Boise State a slot in the Mountain West Championship game. But Boise State is always going to be shooting for beyond that. Boise State is not a typical Group of Five program. I would argue that they're not even a Group of Five team. They are a Power Five team playing in a Group of Five team conference. And when a Power Five team is shooting for an objective, it's not going to be to go play in the Los Angeles Bowl. It's going to be to play in a New Year's Six, and that's what defines Boise State away from the rest of the pack, because that is always their objective, and they always have a chance. Almost always have a chance to get there and are fighting towards it. So, yes, Nevada losing to Hawaii does guarantee Boise State a slot in the Mountain West Championship game, but Boise State is playing for more than that. I think they still have an opportunity to get there, but the main point here is very disappointing weekend. Boise State game getting canceled, top 25 games not going, with so many games getting canceled as well, not going as planned, and the Group of Five games not going as planned, and then Nevada losing to Hawaii. It was a bad weekend for Boise State overall. It's not a death sentence. It's not a nail in the coffin. Boise State is still undefeated in the Mountain West. They're still in control of their destiny going forward in the Mountain West. They now are guaranteed a slot in the Mountain West Championship game, assuming they can win out in the Mountain West. And they still have, I'm going to say it, they still have a chance at a New Year's Six. Though it may be slim, they still have a chance. So keep watching these videos. I'll keep updating you as those chances either continue to diminish or potentially get a boost and continue to grow. Look out for my top 25 rooting guide video coming up for next week. Know where to root as far as Boise State's chances. It's now going to be emphasizing on the switch has been, okay, let's try and get Cincinnati knocked out so that Boise State can get that Group of Five slot. Well, now the focus is going to be Cincinnati needs to get into the playoffs. So you're going to see a slight change in how I determine, sorry, that's what I was going for, how I determine the top 25 rooting guides for Boise State fans, how I determine that overall. You can see a slight change there as the emphasis changes, but Boise State, hopefully has a game next week. Again, we won't really know unless Boise State comes out and tells us exactly numbers, the decision process, all those things is really upfront and honest with us. We're not going to really know for sure if Boise State versus UNLV is a sure thing until we get closer to that. But hopefully Boise State will have a game next week. I'll, of course, be releasing a 3 keys to the game video for that. But thank you for watching this video. If you want to root on Boise State in the highs and the lows throughout the season, with over 8,000 other Boise State fans, I highly encourage you to join Bronco Nation Updates page. Again, over 8,000 members across the nation and across the world, actually. But it's a really great group there to really root on your Boise State Broncos together. All right, thank you for watching this video. As disappointing as it may be overall, there's still a lot of hope going forward in this season, and it's still going to be a great season. What if it essentially amounts to a practice year, COVID year? All players retain their eligibility going forward. Boise State, and especially, should be shooting for the moon in a practice year. Why not go for it all? So Boise State still has a chance to go for it all. We'll see how it works out going forward here. But again, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you like it. If you like these videos, please make sure to like and subscribe. All right, thank you. Go Big Blue.